The U.S.-Mexico border is still closed. There have been many confusing changes recently that have led many people to believe that this has changed, but it is important to understand that the border remains closed due to Title 42. The U.S. government has said that Title 42 was supposed to end May 23rd, but unfortunately this did not happen. Louisiana and other conservative U.S. states sued the government for attempting to open the border, and as a result of this lawsuit, a judge issued an order blocking the U.S. government from ending Title 42 and reopening the border. We do not know when Title 42 will end or when the border will reopen. The lawsuit about ending Title 42 will likely take many months. Until Title 42 ends, the border will remain closed. There are new asylum regulations that will begin on May 31st. These new regulations do not mean that the border is open. There have been many misleading news articles being shared about these new regulations, and it is important to know that the border is still closed despite what the news headlines are saying. These new regulations only apply to a very small number of people that are sent to a detention center under specific circumstances after closing the border without permission. These new regulations essentially mean that some people will be interviewed by an asylum officer rather than going to court to fight for their asylum case in front of a judge. These new regulations will not apply to the majority of people who cross the border. Because Title 42 and MPP are still in place, there is no way to know what might happen to you if you cross the border without permission. You could be returned to your home country or could be returned to Mexico under MPP, which means you would have to fight for your asylum case while in Mexico, or you could be sent to a detention center. Even though the border remains closed, the government is still allowing some exceptions to Title 42 under humanitarian parole. Humanitarian parole is a process where you ask the government to make an exception and to allow you to temporarily enter the U.S., usually for 1 year. Once you are in the U.S., you can apply for asylum. The process for humanitarian parole is different at each port of entry, and you have to have an attorney or a nonprofit organization submit an application to the government on your behalf for humanitarian parole. If you go to the border and talk to an immigration official to request asylum or parole, you will be turned away. Al Otro Lado is working through our encuesta in order of when people filled out the encuesta in order to submit humanitarian parole applications for those that are still interested. We are currently working through May 2021 encuestas. If you have not filled out our encuesta yet, please do so that we have your information. If your phone number or any other important information has changed since you filled out the encuesta, please update your encuesta. You can do this by going to alotrolado.org/encuesta. The first question in the encuesta asks if you have filled out the encuesta before, answer yes. The second question asks if any of your information has changed since you filled out the encuesta, answer yes. You can then answer the questions and update any information that has changed. We understand that many people have been stuck at the border for a very long time and are in extremely difficult situations. The fact that the border remains closed is a human rights violation and is extremely unjust to all of you. We are doing everything we can as a very small team to help as many people as we can and to continue to pressure the government to reopen the border. However, we do not have any control over the policies at the border. In solidarity, al otro lado.